Hi and welcome to a new video. In today's video I will take you through my day and show you what I ate on this meal plan that was made by AI. First I had some water and then I started to make some coffee for myself. While I was having my coffee, I did some work, I checked my emails and I also did some planning for the day. Then when I got hungry, I started to make breakfast for myself and for my boyfriend. I did sourdough bread made with some egg salad that my boyfriend made the other day. I was cutting some bread for myself and I weighed it out. Then I put everything on a baking sheet and put it in the oven to crisp it up. This is the egg salad that I just spread on one of my toasts. I also added some spinach for some fiber and some vegetables and some cherry tomatoes on the side. I also did the other toast with some apple syrup, that's really a Dutch thing, and I added some cottage cheese on top for some proteins. Since it was still early in the day, I decided to prep my lunch. I was preheating the air fryer to make some chicken. I always do my chicken in the air fryer because it's just faster and it stays moist. I added some seasoning on top. This was some Provence pre-made seasoning that I just spread on the chicken. Always watch out to wash your hands when you're handling raw chicken. I cut out those parts when I'm washing my hands, but I in fact washed my hands when I handled the chicken. Then in a pan I also fried up some salmon for later that day. I also washed and cleaned some Brussels sprouts, which are actually such a pain in the ass to peel and wash and clean, but they're so much nicer when they crisp up in the oven. Earlier, I let AI design a workout program for me, and in order to really see some results, I decided to follow a little bit stricter nutrition plan as well. And today I wanted to talk about it, the nutrition recommendations AI gave me, what are my thoughts on it, and how I tweaked it to suit my personal preferences and my goals. But before that, I'm having a second coffee. That's actually one thing that I noticed, that coffee, if you drink it with a lot of milk, how I like it, then it contains quite a bit of calories. 100 milliliters of milk, there is around 40 to 50, 60 calories depending on the fat percentage of the milk. And that means that if you put 2 deciliters of milk, which is around in a latte, to the coffee, then that fast becomes a 150-200 calorie drink. So just bottom line is to be aware of your coffee consumption. If you are used to drinking milky coffees, then substitute to a lower calorie milk of choice, for example almond milk. Apart from that, coffee is great. I'm having a midday snack now, which is around 100-120 grams of cottage cheese mixed in with a little bit of protein powder. It doesn't look too appetizing, but I really like it. The protein powder gives it some more taste. Normally you could use sugar-free sweeteners, for example flavor drops, and I also cut up some apples, so I will be eating these. It's really cold and windy and rainy outside, so I just rather do my cardio inside. So let's talk about nutrition. Earlier I let AI design the workout program, and right after that I asked to write me a nutrition plan to fit my goals. So basically, I asked, write me a nutrition plan to aid with muscle growth and fat loss. I am 156 centimeters tall and weigh 51 kilograms. My body fat percentage is around 25%. I want to get to 22% in 12 weeks. So what I did here was I gave my height and weight. Those are very important in determining how much calories you will need to eat to maintain your weight. And also, it also depends on body fat percentage and muscle mass. The reply that I got was to aid with muscle growth and fat loss, it's important to follow a balanced nutrition plan that supports both goals. Here is a sample nutrition plan for you. So muscle growth and fat loss at the same time, they're quite hard to achieve. That it's because to grow muscle, you need to eat in a slight caloric surplus. But to lose fat, obviously, you need to be in a caloric deficit. And to do both is a little bit tricky. For a beginner that barely goes to the gym, it's more achievable than to an experienced lifter like I am. So already the first warning sign is that ChatGPT didn't notice that I wrote that. They should have given me advice like, yeah, you should pick one goal, either focus on muscle growth or fat loss. But at the same time, it's a little bit interesting. There are contradictions. Some people say that main gaining is possible, but still, I think you would need to eat in a caloric maintenance and not in a deficit. Normally, if you eat in a caloric deficit, some amount of muscle will be lost as well as fat. In order to minimize that muscle loss, that's why you need to eat a little bit higher protein diet. So let's go on. Calculate your calorie needs. To lose fat and build muscle, you need to be in a slight caloric deficit, which means you should consume fewer calories than your body needs to maintain its current weight. You can calculate your daily calorie needs using an online calorie calculator or consult a registered dietitian. These are both great advice. You can find many calculators online that are good, but you need to be able to understand what it means, what calories mean, what caloric deficit means. You need to understand the concept of calories. So if you have any doubts, you should always consult either a dietitian or somebody that's qualified to give you information. Even a personal trainer who is well educated can help you with that. Based on your height, weight, and activity level. So this is interesting because I didn't really give how much activities I do. Obviously, there was some conversation about training before and that I'm an active trainer, but I didn't say how many steps I take in a day. If I go once a day to the gym for an hour, but then I sit on the couch the rest of the day, my caloric needs will be a lot lower than if I actually go for walks, be active during my job. They didn't ask about any of that. So obviously it's nobody really can judge that unless you give very precise information. Based on your height, weight, and activity level, your daily calorie needs might be around 1600 to 1800 calories. Well, that's actually not true. To maintain my weight, I probably need around 2000 to 2200 calories, but that's because I'm very active during the day. I have a job where I move around a lot, lift some weights, help people lifting weights, and I also like to do a lot of walking. I have around 15,000 steps average every day, and yeah, my maintenance calories are a little bit higher than that. Focus on protein. Protein is essential for muscle growth and repair. Aim to consume 1.2 grams of protein per pound of body weight per day. So that's great advice. Protein is very important because they are the building blocks of muscle. And as I said, if you eat a higher protein diet, it's less likely that you will lose muscle when you're losing weight. For example, if you weigh 112 pounds, 51 kilograms, you should aim for 112 to 134 grams of protein per day. Good sources of protein are meats, fish, eggs, dairy, legumes, and tofu. Fantastic advice. It's good. It really puts into perspective how much proteins you need to consume. In my opinion, most people don't eat enough protein. You can find very contradictory information on how much you actually need, but what I noticed is that my clients, they mostly eat around 50-60 grams a day, even if they're omnivores. If they're vegetarian or vegan, it might be even less, and I think that's pretty alarming. I find that the biggest problem is that people don't eat enough legumes, and I'm also guilty of that, but I also eat meat and fish and dairy and eggs, so for me it's a little bit of less of a concern. But if people don't eat enough legumes, and I'm not just meaning like sprinkle some chickpeas over your salad, like, I don't know, 10 grams of chickpeas, that's nothing. You need to eat a pretty significant amount of legumes in order to get enough protein just from that source. And the tofu and soy products got a bad reputation because of the growing amount of people with thyroid dysfunctions. And unfortunately, thyroid dysfunction is very common, and tofu and soy products might aggravate the symptoms of it. And it's normally suggested to limit your soy consumption when you have a thyroid issue. Obviously, I'm not a dietitian, so if you have these specific requirements regarding your diet, I would always advise you to look for a registered dietitian to help you with your meal plan, and not just asking a AI to give you a generic advice. It's good to diversify your protein sources, so I aim to consume from all food groups. Healthy fats are important for hormone production, blah blah blah. Normally 20 to 30% of your daily calories should come from healthy fats. Good sources include nuts, seeds, avocado, olive oil, and fatty fish. Again, that's great advice. It's important to include fats in the diet. Normally, these bodybuilder type diets, they limit fat intake to quite a significant degree, and although I don't agree with eating very little fat, because obviously it's not beneficial for your hormone balance, modern society tends to have a lot of oil in everything. So if you think about, like, you start your breakfast, let's have scrambled eggs. You start with like 2 to 3 tablespoons of olive oil. I've seen many recipes when you make a piece of meat in a pan, or fish or chicken or something, always 2 to 3 tablespoons of olive oil. And if you look at the amount of oil in the pan, you don't need that much. Normally, I like to use olive oil sprays, because then just a few sprays, the pan is a little bit greased, just so that the things don't stuck to it. And that's kind of the only thing that you need. A lot of times I would, if I misjudge how much oil I need, I just take it out. Like, for example, I melt some butter in the pan, and then if I see that the whole thing is just swimming in butter, then I just remove some of it with a paper towel, because you really don't need all that much. And especially if you have a omnivorous diet with meat and dairy and eggs, then those already have built-in fat sources, and most of the time those fat sources are a little bit more balanced or less saturated than processed oils. And obviously avocados have fantastic good omega-3 fatty acids and everything, but avocados are also very high in calories. So if your primary goal is to lose weight, you should really cut back, or just control your intake of avocados and nuts and seeds. Nuts and seeds are very calorific, and if you don't pay attention how much you eat, and most people don't like to weigh things out. I always weigh things out because I cannot be trusted, and my eyes, they don't judge perfectly. So I think I'm way out, or I think I eat 20 grams of nuts, which is like a serving, and I accidentally eat 40. Fatty fish, most people don't eat enough fish. You can also go overboard with it. So normally I aim to eat once or twice a week fish, and you will see in this diet that ChatGPT gave me, it says to eat grilled salmon every day. I mean, if the meal plan includes salmon for dinner, and if I follow this meal plan every day of the week, I eat 7 times salmon. That's a lot of mercury and other heavy metals that the fish can be contaminated with. So I would really advise you to watch out for your fish intake. Try to diversify your protein sources, and if you had a protein heavy or like a meat heavy lunch, then maybe opt for something like egg whites or beans or chickpeas for your dinner. The next advice is eat complex carbohydrates. Complex carbohydrates provide energy for workouts and help replenish glycogen stores in the muscles. Aim to consume 40 to 50 of your daily calories from complex carbohydrates. Good sources of carbohydrates include whole grains, fruits, vegetables, and legumes. I eat quite a lot of carbs, but I'm also very active. In my opinion, if you're very sedentary, you really don't need that much carbs because you're not really exercising. So the carbs are the primary source for energy, and if you're just sitting around all day doing your work, you don't really need all that much of carbs. Obviously, I'm not saying to go keto. Carbs are important. They're a good macronutrient. Also, they can be quite filling, and they just make a balanced diet, but you don't need a lot of them. So I would always watch out with portion sizes, because that's where portions can really go overboard. If you think about pasta and rice and potatoes, you can have a lot of carbs coming from those sources. Limit processed foods. Processed foods are often high in calories, unhealthy fats and sugar. Limit your intake, blah blah blah. Obviously, that's very, very straightforward. The more processed something are, probably the worse it is for you. So chips, candy, fried stuff, these are very obvious. And in my opinion, here in Europe, most people know that these foods are unhealthy. What's hard is that we're so used to eating huge quantities of food, even healthy foods. Like, our diet here in this part of Europe is moderately healthy. Obviously, there are some frying, especially like my clients, they don't really eat too much fast food. Like, it's not like they go to McDonald's every single evening or go to have Subway every single lunch with chips on the side. It's not like that. So here, I think the biggest problem is portion control, and to get better at it, you really need to learn about the foods and the calories in the certain foods and how to balance your plate. So yeah, let's look at the sample meal plan. Breakfast: Greek yogurt with berries and almonds, apple with almond butter for snack. Lunch: grilled chicken breast with roasted sweet potatoes and broccoli. Snack: hard-boiled egg with carrot sticks. Dinner: baked salmon with quinoa and mixed vegetables. Nowhere do I see amounts. So this is where it gets tricky. So I already thought that something was a little bit off, and maybe I didn't give enough information, because this is just not very specific. You would really need a lot of research to find out how much you need to eat from this stuff to hit that 1800 calorie goal. Before bed: casein, protein shake, almond milk. Okay. Remember to track your progress and adjust your nutrition plan as needed to reach your goal of reducing body fat to 22% in 12 weeks. Aim to lose around 1 to 2 pounds per week. This can be achieved by being in a caloric deficit of around 500 to 1,000 calories per day. That's actually quite a lot, because I thought that this was not very specific, and I actually wanted to get what the exact measurements of the certain foods are. Instead, I asked, write me a meal plan of 1800 calories, because this is for me actually like a cutting range of calories for building muscle and for muscle building and fat loss. Then this is what I got. To build muscle and lose fat on an 1800 calorie diet, it's important to choose nutrient-dense foods that are high in protein and fiber while being low in added sugars and unhealthy fats. Here is a sample meal plan for you. Breakfast: 2 scrambled eggs with spinach and diced tomatoes, 1 slice of whole grain toast, 1 small apple. So that's actually quite good. I normally always eat 2 eggs for breakfast. Spinach and diced tomatoes, obviously if I have it on hand, I would have it. I like it. It's a good option. 1 slice of whole grain toast. Here is where I would change it a little bit, because I normally either have a toasty, which is a ham and cheese like grilled sandwich, and 1 small apple. Again, good source of carbs and fiber. Snack: half a cup of low-fat cottage cheese with sliced peaches. Well, I have my cottage cheese here, but instead of peaches, because it's really not in season now, I chose to have apples. And also I didn't have apple for my breakfast, because I just spreaded some apple syrup on my sourdough toast. Actually, this is not a low-fat cottage cheese. It's the Philadelphia brand, which is a little bit higher in fat, but it's also very creamy and nice. And I have that one now at home. Then lunch: grilled chicken breast, 4 ounces. That's around 100 grams. With mixed greens, cherry tomatoes and cucumber, a half a cup of quinoa and 1 small avocado. So Again, a good balanced lunch. It has some salad with it, some quinoa. I'm not a big fan of quinoa. Normally, I would just make rice. It doesn't matter. Again, brown rice, a little bit healthier, a little bit more satiating. But if you prefer the taste of white rice, just go for the white rice. Just focus on the calories and the portion size. One small avocado. Well, that's a little bit too much, I would say, for an 800 calorie diet. One small avocado can have like 300 calories in it. So I would always, if you want to eat avocado, eat it, but make sure that you watch out for your portion sizes. Since I don't have it at home now at the moment because I couldn't buy it. Then another snack, one small can of tuna mixed with 1 tablespoon of olive oil and a squeeze of lemon juice, 5 whole grain crackers. So olive oil, I think here it's really unnecessary. I would just eat the tuna with the lemon juice and the crackers. And dinner, grilled salmon, 4 ounces again, 100 grams, with roasted Brussels sprouts and sweet potato, half a cup of brown rice. So yeah, this is pretty standard. I would actually like switch around to have the Brussels sprouts and potato for lunch and have this salad for dinner, just because I feel that if I have a carb heavy meal for dinner, I just feel a little bit sluggish and it's not really helping with my sleep, so I rather have the salad later in the day. But again, it's like a pretty standard meal. I don't have any problem with it. And there is another snack, which is a cup of plain Greek yogurt with mixed berries and a tablespoon of honey. Again, flavor-wise, of course, you can add a little bit of honey, but honey is also like very processed sugar, so actually I don't really do that. I would just rather add like a sweetener, maybe a little bit of like plain yogurt, which is like, we have like 3% yogurt here, which again, it doesn't have a lot of protein, but I sometimes add a scoop of whey protein in it, just mix it together, have it with the fruit, and it's actually very yummy. The whey protein gives it some flavor, so yeah, like that's what I normally do. Remember to drink plenty of water throughout the day and adjust portion sizes based on your individual calorie needs. You can swap out ingredients for other options that fit your preferences and nutritional needs. And the rest is just that I should also exercise. Yeah, as I said, I will also be swapping some ingredients because of preference and just availability, what I have at hand. And also, I was thinking, because that nowhere did it mention the calories, so it gave me precise options and pretty precise measurements, but it didn't count the calories for me. So actually, I made the effort and calculated the calories in the meal plan, counted with the original meal plan, and just did all the measurements that it recommended. It totaled at 2,197 calories, so almost 2,200 calories. And I specifically asked for an 1,800 calorie meal plan. So this is where these programs or just cookie cutter meal plans can be a little bit faulty. Is that what is one small avocado for me can be very different for the person that wrote it, or to have sweet potato for lunch. Yeah, but how much? Sweet potato can be this big, can be just like a tiny portion of it, who knows? So yeah, that's why I thought like, okay, interesting. So I actually calculated my versions, and it actually came to, normally if I eat per this meal plan and I eat everything on it, how I tweak it, then it comes to 1,700 calories. So that's like closer to where I need to be if I want to lose fat. The bottom line is not to trust cookie cutter programs, let it be workout programs or meal plans. You should always, if you're unsure, you should always consult with somebody that's a professional, that knows what they're doing, and that can give you individualized advice. So I will stop here and show you the rest of the day of this full day of eating.
were obviously not on the meal plan, but we went for a walk with my boyfriend to this American store where we picked up a few snacks and candy. So we tried them all, we shared a few of each. Well, some of them were good, some of them not so much. Basically, it was a small snack, but I also had a real snack to keep me a little bit fuller.
Alright, so I had a kind of a busy day, and now it's 6:15, but I'm already ready for dinner. So I will be having salmon with some salad. My dinner is gonna be a little bit lower in calories since it's just a big salad with the salmon. And actually, I completely forgot about the quinoa. Yeah, so let's make salad. Actually, I decided to try it with my salad. I think it will be nice and maybe even a little bit more filling, and also like the rest I can just take to work tomorrow, so perfect. So what I will do is that I will measure out 100 grams of this quinoa mixture, a nice 100 grams of salmon. Let's pop this into the microwave and then assemble the salad. And this is my little balsamic dressing. It has honey and balsamic vinegar. And voila, my big salad for dinner.